partidei. Delgado acolo este, va fi corner, dragi ascultători.
Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Everybody out there, go run and tell your home boys and home girls. It's time for Keenan and Kel. Don't touch that dial. Don't leave that room. They keep you laughing in the afternoon. Hello everyone, it's 6 o'clock on Monday, an undisclosed Monday in your future, our shared timeline, and we're here to discuss Josh Trank's 2015 film Fant4stic. They wanted us to call it a certain thing, but we're not. We're calling it how it's written, Fant4stic, and I won't have it any other way.
Literalistic.
So quite often we'll go into films and discuss their kind of, their context and their construction, and I like to think that we kind of do things sort of properly around here. I just want to wail on this one. Fuck it. It's adding to a chorus that died down 4 years ago. But, always there, right on the button.
Yeah,
to go,
we're current here in Verde. Well, in Verde we do get films a little later than everywhere else. So.
That's true. Yes. Going to tense kind of negotiations and the such like.
Uh-huh.
So Josh Trank essentially got given this off the back of Chronicle. Yeah, is what happened.
A good film, I thought.
A good film. I mean, it's written by Max Landis, who has since been cancelled, but he's supposed to do some bad stuff. But this is a film that kind of continues that spiritually in a way. Chronicle was much like a lot of Max Landis things. It's a lot of other things smashed together. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that. A lot of it is kind of Akira. It's kind of like a dark take on a superhero origin story. Is that appropriate for Fantastic Four? At its nub, not really. I mean, I don't see the value in doing a dark Fantastic Four film, firstly. I mean, the clue's in the name, really. And this is a kind of handling of these characters in a similar vein to Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman. What it is, though, unfortunately, we will never know, really, because the final product is not what's available here. This is... this strange reclaimed meat kind of, as the value pork pie of a film. Yeah,
but I mean, whereas a lot of these examples, for there are many, I hesitate to say do hide their cuts well. They don't, but to the uninitiated at least would seem of a piece at least. This just... So it jumps all over the place, and all right, you can say, well, this bit from the trailer's not in it and all that kind of stuff, but it's like, yeah, but it literally does just go bap and then cut.
There's a point at which, so for example, Men in Black 3 undertook very extensive reshoots for its third act. I think they shut down production and carried on. I watched that again recently because we talked about Men in Black. I like Men in Black 3, I'll die on that hill.
Yeah.
It hangs together just fine. Regardless of whether you want it, if you think it's boring or it's not funny or whatever, fine, but the third act hangs together just fine. It makes sense, the edits make sense. There is a point at which, when you have the audacity to present this to the public and expect them to pay money for it, it stops being a film and it starts being a grift.
Yeah.
And like Suicide Squad is like a grift.
Yeah.
And this, it's the most basic rules of filmmaking go out of the window in order to satisfy, I assume, a runtime and a deadline. Keep looking at it like it's got this totemic power. It's like, this was in fucking hell. So me and Ivan saw this. You may or may not know Ivan. It depends how long we've been the channel.
So much for not swearing in these videos.
Oh god, yeah, we really.
Never mind.
That up to me.
Yeah.
We went and saw this in the cinema twice.
Right.
First time. Oh no, that's not true. I saw it in the cinema twice. Once I saw it with a former co-worker that I used to review chat things on the internet with, and the other time I saw it with Ivan. I'd already seen it once. Ivan was just gunning for it and wanted to laugh at it. And our friend Liz came with us as well. Went to the supermarket, bought loads of fucking spirits, vodka, whiskey, put them in a bag, bought big fucking things of Coke, and just got drunk and watched it. And just kind of laughed at it. And like I say, there is a point at which it stops being a failed film and it becomes a grift.
Yeah.
And, you would never, it would seem at this level of production and that level of kind of brand recognition, you don't just bury things. Films get buried and released later and whatever. This was too high profile, I guess, to bury. So they had to release something.
Presumably had tie-ins, and that often is what happens to superhero films, is that because of the merchandising and all the deals done, you can't miss a deadline. The thing just has to come out.
Happy Meals and T-shirts and whatever.
Because it has to meet all those things. So yeah, it really did feel like a some sort of hatchet job, some sort of last minute soiling of the bed that was done by producers or whoever who just thought this isn't
99 minutes. I was just checking 99 minutes. Yeah.
And it's just sort of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think the funny thing with this one is I don't know who was making the bad decisions, because it's all bad. But I sort of go, was Josh Trank out there in the reeds making some rubbish, or were the studio, did they get cold feet?
Well, it seems so. Simon Kinberg has been involved in the X-Men franchise for a long time, and the Fox Marvel stuff, as it was.
Yeah.
And he directed Dark Phoenix, which is also horribly meddled with in a train wreck, apparently.
All right.
So it would appear that when things went south and the edict came that things had to be changed, it was Kinberg that came in and directed the extra footage and wrote more stuff for it and whatnot.
Okay.
In reference to what you're saying in terms of, was there something good? Because, the thing is always like, wow, there was an amazing film being released, the Snyder Cut. There was an amazing film being made and the studio interfered. What I've gathered from context and my understanding of it is that Josh Trank was making this dark body horror Cronenbergian Fantastic Four film, and the studio was kind of like, well, we can't have that. We need to fix it. And then Kinberg comes in and they slap this together. Josh Trank went off. Josh Trank appears to have had personal issues during the making of this film.
That's you wonder if is that him being thrown. I err on the side of I think that probably was true.
And he got fired from the Star Wars franchise over this as well. Yeah.
I err on the side that I'm sure that's true, but I do wonder if it does seem awfully convenient that was all peddled out there.
It's all in the greys, isn't it?
They knew this was going to be a disaster.
These things it's all in the grey. That's where the truth is.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle. Like, I would love, I'd love to live in a world. Well, maybe in 20 years we'll get the crowdfunded documentary about Fantastic Four, what happened, much like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, what happened. But I would love to know more. I mean, but like I say, it gets to a point where like the basic rules of filmmaking are broken, and there's things like, okay, do you know what? 180-degree rule. Stanley Kubrick can cross the line.
Yeah.
Like in The Shining, Stanley Kubrick can cross the line.
Yeah.
If you do it 6 times in 30 seconds because you're cobbling together footage like some kind of crime scene investigator, probably this is a wonderful film for if you want an example of real life Mr. Black. Like there's bits of what's his name?
Victor Von Doom.
Yeah, who's the actor? Tim Blake Nelson. When Tim Blake Nelson's talking about Dr. Dick, because he was going to be called Victor Domashev and he was going to be a blogger, but then they change it so he's actually Victor Von Doom, whatever. And there's loads of great bits, like there's a scene where they're talking about him and there's this dialogue kind of flowing and then it cuts to a close-up of a document with Dr. Doom written on it, and he's like, it reminds me of when they did the close-ups of Thunderbird's hands, and they were real hands, and then it will show the back of Tim Blake. It's like, our new recruit, back of head, Dr. Doom, and then it cuts back to that scene is just astonishingly awful.
Yeah.
And again, look, because I remember at the time that there was a lot of kind of like, God, you just hate everything. It's not that bad. Stop going on about it. And I still get that about Suicide Squad to this day. They took your money and your time for an incomplete product. You wouldn't buy a fucking car with frisbees for wheels, would you? You know what I mean? And pay full whack for it?
No.
Okay, a film won't kill you necessarily, but.
Well, unless it's Videodrome.
Yes, indeed.
But
Long live the new flesh. I saw a lady wearing a jacket with that on yesterday, weirdly. Long live the new flesh. Videodrome. Synchronicity. Anyway.
Yeah. No, it's what I do for a living. It's what I work, I work in this medium and I understand it not at that level, quote unquote. I have been on big film sets of that level, but not in any great capacity. But I do understand that, like, the amount of money they throw at these things now and the betting of the farm that goes on. It's small wonder why we're having these kind of like just panic moments before something's released. It's like it seems anathemous to say we want this director because he has worked in something where he's produced something that was different and out there and interesting. We want to put him in this because of that success, but we don't want him to replicate it.
Yeah.
What? At that point, if you're going to have that, because presumably there was a pitch moment or something went on. It's not like they go, here you go, Josh Trank, bye. Don't worry, whatever you think, bye.
And I think he's pitched the dark body horror.
He's pitched it, then he started showing them it, and no doubt they go, oh no, like, you know, or how I'm sure it's again in the
number
grey.
of firings in Star Wars. Like Josh Trank lost his shit over this, and I get that, you know, his high-profile failure. I think Colin Trevorrow may have done so over the Book of Henry. We're not sure.
Right.
Is it Chris Miller and Lord and Miller? They hired for Solo.
Yeah.
They hired the wacky freewheeling comedy guys for Solo.
Yeah.
And then when they started making a wacky freewheeling comedy, they sacked him.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is on you, mate. It's like, you know what I mean? Don't order a pizza chef to make your fucking burgers. That was a horrible analogy, but
I know what you mean, though, in that, like, yeah, exactly. Why it speaks more to the idea that actually the studio had the wrong, or thought they had the wrong idea at some point. It's not necessarily the filmmaker's fault. You know, it's like they've hired a guy to produce something and he's done it, and then they've gone, oh no, we didn't actually want that, so let's reorder it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, let's cancel the order or something. You know, you can't blame the filmmakers. Don't get me wrong. Like I say, Josh Trank. I listened to an interview with him with Kevin Smith on his podcast right before that came out, and they were both smoking weed and both being very, very silly. And you know, obviously Kevin Smith, that's fine. I think Josh Trank did need to wind it in a bit because I don't think he acted very professionally generally. And at that point, he was like, mate, and it was full of just like him going like, well, you know, if they like it, they like it. They don't, I don't give a fuck. I'm not here to like placate this, that, the other. I'm just doing what I want and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah. Well, that plus studio interference, I'm sure, is a recipe for. I'm certain he probably,
I wouldn't blame him, like, because I imagine he was in his 20s when he did Chronicle. I'm not sure. I think he's kind of our age or a bit younger. Like, yeah. If I was catapulted to kind of artistic rock star fame early on, I probably would have shit the bed as well. You know, I've got to say, I am, broad strokes, I'm sympathetic to him. I think he's, a lot of it's his own fucking doing. Yeah. And he's going to have to suck that up. I've been told, someone told me, I think on Twitter or comments the other day, that he is back doing another movie. And I do think good for him. I mean, if that sucks, then time to go back to Tesco, mate, or whatever. But
I think he's someone who's probably got interesting stuff to say, but I do think it needs to be from the lens of some humility.
This is not the venue. I mean, this is what I think, because like, you know, Fantastic Four, which Marvel haven't touched yet, and they will get there now they've bought Fox. Like, Fantastic Four is to me, it's, as far as I can gather from classic Fantastic Four, we're talking kind of Stan Lee, Kirby, Ditko type shit. It's the absolute kind of rocket age, optimistic future. You know, it's optimistic futurism, and it's about the rocket age. Like Reed Richards is the kind of pipe smoking professor, sort of like not quite your granddad type guy. It's like, well, geez, Sally, like you know, well, that's my Mr. Impossible for the Venture Brothers fans. You know, it's that. This is not the venue to make a dark body horror film. If you want to do that, do that. Oh, you did. It was called Chronicle. Make something else then. You know, this is really not the venue for it. And the Tim Story Fantastic Four films suck. Right. I think the tone is right. Yeah. You know, they're kind of colourful and goofy. But they're just sort of a bit lame. You know, they're not quite there, but I think they're tonally quite right. Have you seen the? You know, we watched the Roger Corman one years ago.
Yes, I've actually seen all of the Fantastic Four films. Well, that I think about it.
Unironically, and it's not just contrarianism, like the Roger Corman unreleased one is the best one. Like the script is really good by comparison. By comparison. Like, say what you like about the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, the fact they made that on $1 million is fucking astonishing. Yeah. I mean, flipping astonishing. I don't think it works like that, does it? It's astonishing what they did.
Remonetized.
That film is about 85, 90 minutes long. Yeah. It doesn't waste any time. No scene of that film is pointless. Yeah. That film drives the story forward. And in terms of a script, and bless them, like that whole story is really sad. And if you watch the doc, that's really interesting. Yeah. We live in a climate where a film made as a scam to hold on to some rights in a pay or play deal is the best one.
Out of 4.
Out of 4.
It's ridiculous.
Fantastic one. You know, like it's absolutely insane. And this was, of course, so this had Matthew Vaughn, I think, has exec producer credit on this, and Simon Kinberg's all over it. This was broadly intended to plug into the X-Men universe. I mean, it's kind of got the, lazily one could say it's got the kind of Dark Knight lens applied to it, and that they're trying to make it all kind of really, you know, what would it really be like? It's like, this is not the venue for that.
It really is.
It's about an invisible girl, a fire boy, a rubber man, and a rock monster.
Well, quite. And it's like,
not...
but again, that speaks to a bunch of people who don't get it, essentially, applying the kind of rubric of Hollywood or the kind of...
Well, that's the thing. It's the dark things work now, we do dark things.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. And then, funnily enough, that snake ate its own tail when we got flipping Batman versus Superman.
We told everyone we weren't going to swear anymore. We've recorded a month's worth of content and we swore in all of it. So that's that. But how can you review Fant4stic without the phrase "shit the bed"? You can't.
You just can't.
Look, I just think it doesn't work on any level, and I kind of. It's funny because, and it's been discussed recently that Fox did have a kind of Avengers-esque master plan for their properties. So Daredevil, Fantastic Four and the X-Men, and I think one other that they had in their pocket were all going to fold together.
Right.
And, at this time, 2015, the X-Men franchise was still just about credible.
Yeah.
It's coming to the end of that, had a bit of credibility. And, if they had, because they allowed the rights to Daredevil to lapse, which is why they lost it. So, like, Joe Carnahan was pitching a Daredevil that they lost the rights, reverted to Marvel, because that's how that deal functioned. It seemed that with the X-Men franchise where it was, they could have done that. They could have had, and if they hadn't made this, because they clearly wanted that to be part of it, but when the bed shitting happened, they went.
They wanted their Avengers, didn't they? Just like all of them did. They wanted their Avengers, and they thought, I know, if we rush to it, we even will beat DC because we're still technically Marvel, kind of.
Yeah.
So,
right.
and I know what you mean, and it is this just nasty box ticking spreadsheet exercise. And it doesn't get it. I don't know what other analogy to apply to it other than it's completely the wrong venue.
What was your experience of watching this, by the way? Did you see it in the cinema?
Or... Yes.
Jesus, why did you see it in the cinema? I saw it
for the same reason that you did initially.
Oh, I see. Okay.
To review it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, unfortunately. And I think I even had to see it in 3D.
Fucking Jesus.
Which is the shitty icing on the shit cake that was. And it's just, but we all knew it. And again, in this age, you don't get away with it anymore. You just don't. You don't get away. As soon as the first eyes are laid upon it, it's done. You're done. Because it's, critics be damned. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's one thing to hear someone put forth an erudite, informed, articulate review of a film. That's one thing. But it all spreads like wildfire. As soon as something's terrible in a train wreck, someone's going to come out of that. It doesn't matter who they are. A member of the public can come out and go, "This was dog shit. Damn it, this is bad." And it's
canine faces.
Yeah, and it's like, and then you've probably got a forum and a website dedicated to discussions on it. So that's it. I mean, it's small wonder I think that the IMDb message boards disappeared. Because that was exactly the And I know they gussied that up as because there was too much toxic chat going on, and it's like. I'm sure that's true, but I'm also sure that because that was the place, that's where everyone goes to look at a film and its cast and everything like that. And if underneath that, it's just full of this was dreadful, don't go and see it, blah, 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 blah. It just ruins a film. And I think it cuts both ways. I mean, I've done films like Fistful of Lead because it reaches a comparatively small audience compared to something like that. It only takes one or two people to take against it or think they were going to get this big budget Western film because the box art makes it look like that, and then they go blah, 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 in the comments, and give downvote it, and suddenly, suddenly it looks like it's terrible because not many people have seen it. So I do understand that. I just don't think any attempt to try and stamp this kind of thing out is ever going to work because it's just... And it was the same with that. I remember even before the film came out, I remember all the trailers and everything. Everyone was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, I get that's why me and Ivan, even if I wasn't reviewing it, we were going to get drunk and watch it.
Yeah.
It was just like, mate, we have to... I mean, I ended up having to sit professionally, but we were going to watch it because it was just like this... And that's cruel and snidey, but fuck 'em, it's my money that they're taking off me. So I would say it's probably one of the biggest fucking mainstream Western film disasters since, say, Heaven's Gate or something like that. I mean, Heaven's Gate was known for how large it was, of course, but this is smaller and messier. I think in modern...
I'm sure they still spent a fortune on it, though, didn't they?
Yeah, I just mean in terms of its size, as in runtime and...
Oh, so you're right.
Yeah, because I think it's kind of the end product is 99 minutes, and I don't know what the kind of conceived runtime would have been.
Yeah.
It's just things like the Fantastic Four should be kind of wondrous and space agey and kind of rocket age and optimistic. It shouldn't be a bunch of people locked in a basement going, Reed, I'm turning into rocks, and like the close-ups of his limbs elongating are really gross and
sort of
you know,
cracking bones and stuff. I mean that's that one thing was, is it Tim's story?
He did the other two.
That I think the one thing those do is they sort of do that in the context of family dynamic. So there is more of a family dynamic within that works in terms of, and then what gives it its optimism, if you can call it that, is the fact that they squabble but ultimately they're a family and they have to come together and stuff like that. And I think here in a weird way, I mean they're not a proper, and I'm not going to, because in this you've now got Johnny Storm's adopted and all that kind of thing. It's like it still has the same effect because
Sue's adopted.
Sorry, Sue's adopted.
Not that it matters.
Whichever way around, one of them's adopted. But my point being is, it's like that doesn't matter because in there's not like Johnny Storm isn't their son.
Yeah,
but exactly. It still works.
It's like a reconstituted family.
Yeah,
like
yeah. So it's kind of it's, and I think they got that right, and I think they got certain things right in that, and the sort of look of them is more optimistic, even though it's not, still silly. But yeah, this just has no redeeming, like you say, it's sort of stripped away. It's this sort of acid washed thing.
It's a black hole, isn't it?
I mean, yeah.
Because I'm sat here trying to think of. I will try and conjure some positives, but I'm sat here because I mean, even like I'm not like Marco Beltrami is a composer. Hey, look, he's a working Hollywood composer that makes lots of money, but hum a Marco Beltrami theme. Right? I think he did the Scream movies, he did Terminator 3. It's kind of quite unremarkable composer, so it's not even like I'm going. I can't even say like, oh, this music was really good or anything like that. I mean, I can't try not to outwardly laugh when I thought of it, but like the cinematography's sharp.
It's in
focus.
It opens with a scene of someone being bullied, doesn't it? I forget who.
Yeah, so I think it's Reed being bullied, then he gets saved by Ben.
Right, that's the one. That's the one.
It's got all the science fair stuff.
Yeah.
So like, and Ben Grimm. I've got to say, I mean, I'm happy with the cast. They're a bit young. They tilt it a bit young, which I find weird because I think Reed should have. Because I'm at that point in life where I'm bald, but my friends have started like getting the hair.
I've got the
my mate Dan, my mate Dan's ginger, but got that, and I was like, you got to Reed Richards. Yeah. It's Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos, or it's Reed Richards.
Right.
But you get Reed Richards. It's a good look,
yeah, I mean, in the Tim Story ones, it was like he was shocked by it, wasn't he?
So dumb. I think the Roger Corman one does that. Wow.
Wasn't Pierce Brosnan going to play Reed Richards at one point?
That would have been amazing.
About. Well, his US accent's not that strong.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Come on, Sue, let's go.
So Pierce Brosnan as Reed Richards, Timothy Dalton as Ben Grimm, George Lazenby as Sue Storm,
Lazy Bee,
George Lazenby, and Sean Connery as Johnny Storm.
Slightly the wrong way around.
Daniel Craig as Dr. Tim. It's really strange.
Yeah, that is. Flame on!
Oh, I'd love to deep fake that.
Flame your cup! No, I can't say it.
No swearing. We've shut that particular bed, mate, don't worry.
Big time.
I will say that they're all, I'm not mad about what's his fucking name, Miles Teller. Miles Teller's decent enough. Like I don't mind him.
They're all fine actors. Kate Mara's good.
Kate Mara's good. Jamie Bell's good.
Billy Elliot.
Billy Elliot. Michael B. Jordan is really great. We talked about Creed earlier. He's someone I really like.
And he's found more, once again, in these superhero universes, you can only but fail upwards in terms of he's now in obviously Black Panther and
much like Chris Evans.
They
were both Johnny Storm and then had vast success in the Marvel universe. More so Chris Evans. Because Chris Evans is a great piece of casting as. I would say Michael Chiklis. I mean, that cast is not a bad cast either in those Tim Story movies. They're just not used properly.
Yeah.
And Lawrence Fishburne as Norrin Rad that's quite cool, but it's just not done properly.
Yeah.
The cast it is a good cast. Tim Blake Nelson as well. They're just not deployed properly.
Yeah.
And the whole kind of setup, it just feels like this sort of bandaged wound of a film. And if you were gonna, I would never in a million years cast Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm. But having seen it, and when it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, the hand-wringing moral dilemmas about whether or not you'd be a state-sanctioned killer is not really why I go to a Fant4stic for anything. But
no, and I think the making him essentially, I mean, he was going to be a CGI construct anyway, wasn't he? Like, let's be honest, it's not like so before it was a costume. And then come this one, he was going to be. So casting him, you may as well cast an actor.
It doesn't really matter much. But I do like, because the idea that he should be gruff though, because each transformation is based on their personalities.
Right.
Is the idea. So him being a kind of gruff guy. So Chickless is great.
Yeah.
For that, you know, I think there was talk of Bruce Willis when this was coming, not this film, when they were rebooting. But it's kind of like, yeah, all right, fine. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of, you know, their relatively kind of changed ages, it's really the least of it.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
and it's just, you know, like I said, I did just say we were here to give this a kick in. I think it's a reasoned kicking, and I think it's something that, you know, again, I feel like we were all grifted, so we have a right to.
Well, we're not just saying what non-expletive thing. It's flipping short.
Shash.
It's shash. It's no. I mean, we're not. Yeah, hopefully, we're sort of shedding some light on why it's that, you know, and where the problems lie, and you know, it's just always a curiosity to wonder just how you tie your bollocks in a twist like this with something like that, you know, because I suppose it speaks more to the kind of decision-making structure of big Hollywood production. You know, I know, having been on big sets at the bottom end very much of stuff, that if an edict does come from on high, there is not, certainly in my circle of whoever's on set, no one's going to know why. It's just do or die.
Right.
So, and it will come down from on high, and that's it. Now, obviously, I've never been in a position to ask why or do it. You know, you can ask why, but it's like, well, we're doing it. You know, I've been back for reshoots on stuff. Now, that's not to say that they were bad ideas. I mean, I know that on Snow White,
the reshoot's bad mentality is false.
Yes, reshoots always happen, and they're not like reshoots as in we're reshooting everything, but it's like there are pickups. There are, on a film like that, you've got so many different units. So you've got, you know, splinter units, third unit, you know, action unit, all sorts of stuff that will go, you know, and bearing in mind they cut these things as you're going. I'm not kidding. On Maleficent, for example, we were on one of the stages at Pinewood, pretending to fight a dragon that wasn't there, and there's literally a bank of editors sat there editing in the stage, you know, because this footage is literally coming out, because they've got to put dailies together.
Well, we've had, there are day edits and corporate jobs as well. You've got someone sat in the back room of the conference venue, and you give them your memory card, and they hand you an empty, and you go out onto the floor.
Is that online editing?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so that's online editing. So it's literally, you know, it's that there is so much. It's just the hive of activity, and what will happen is they will identify things and shots they need in order to tell the story the way it's supposed to be, and things that will be missed on certain days, and it's like, and that's what your reshoots or your pickups are. We had that. I remember Snow White. It was quite nice actually by the end of it, because all the sort of pretense had dropped on set, and there was no real hierarchy, and everyone was just having a good time, and it felt a bit more guerrilla then. They were just chucking us about and just grabbing shots of us doing stuff, and it was quite fun. But that's how that works. So it's like, you know, just to say reshoots are bad, but when we're reshooting to totally re-engineer. I mean, something like Rogue One, I would argue, I don't know what the original intent of that story was, but I certainly know that the end result for me was satisfying.
Yeah, me too.
I liked it.
Me too. It's my favourite of the new Star Wars.
Definitely, yeah. So I you know, just interference isn't always in and of itself a bad thing. You're looking like you want to wrap up.
I'm afraid I need to wrap up.
Very good.
At times they are at ending, not a change. One day we'll get a fancy video camera that doesn't stop at 29.59, and maybe a crew to operate the cameras and sound and lights. But, you know, that's a different story. We're done. That was I enjoyed that. That was a good one. I hope you enjoyed it too. Fantastic. Fant4stic is still shit. Shash, whatever. We are on Twitter. We're on Patreon. We're on Facebook. We're on Redbubble. We're on Discord.
Amazon.
Teletext, Amazon affiliate links, it's all there every Monday, 6 o'clock on your YouTube box. It ain't broke. Laters. Support your 7th or 8th favourite YouTube channel by buying crap, tat, junk, hogwash and filth at redbubble.com/people/Valverde shop.